Hi, this is Kate Magic, and you're listening to the Raw Living podcast. Raw Living is Europe's leading raw foods and superfood supplier, and I founded the company back in 2002. In this interview series, I'm talking to some of the people behind the brands that we offer on our shop to find out what exactly is the ethos behind the company. Not just the ingredients that they use and the processes that they use to create the end results, but I'm asking them other questions like how do they show respect for the environment? How do they treat their workers and their relationship to the farmers who grow the crops? All the companies that we work with are putting huge amounts of dedication and commitment into creating products that are benefiting not just you, but also the whole ecosystem, the planet, the people. And with this series, I'm hoping to show insights into that. When you're shopping with these companies, you're really not just investing in your health, you're truly investing in a better world for us all. Today I'm speaking with Katie of Microbz, which is a UK company. They make their own soil-based microbial products for all kinds of uses, humans, animals, household cleaning. So stay tuned for a really interesting interview. Katie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's really lovely to learn more about your brand. So, yeah, tell us, how did it all start and what's the story behind the company?
Sure. So it's a family business. My parents were counsellors, and my dad was hired by an investor because he kept on having arguments with people that he would invest in, and they were always inventors. So this guy took him around the world to see lots of different eco projects, and he saw kind of making clothes out of plastic in Africa. And he took him to Australia, where he stumbled across something called microbial balancing technology. So it was all about not killing microbes or killing pathogens, but supporting nature's process of rebalancing. And he came back, and him and mum went for a long walk, and they talked about it, and they said they just felt a real kind of expansion and possibility. They saw it as a real solution for many of the health and environmental issues that we face. And they just went ahead and started, threw themselves into the fermentation process and found out more about it. And they've been learning ever since and brought me along on the way.
I love that. I love that it's a completely family-run business. So they just invented these formulas themselves.
Yeah, so there's quite a lot of people. I mean, it was started in Japan quite a while ago in terms of this, they call it effective microorganisms. So this idea of rebalancing with beneficial microbes rather than killing pathogenic microbes.
Mm.
And actually, there's quite a few large companies in Europe that practice this, and I find them really inspiring because quite a lot of agriculture centres that have used microbes for 20 years, 20, 30 years, decades to support their mostly animal feed, basically, but also land as well, in order to not use so much probiotics or antibiotics.
Mm.
So it wasn't something that we invented, but it was something that we fell in love with, definitely, and saw the possibility of, in a world where there was so much ill health and so much antibiotic use, this kind of idea about rebalancing and also letting the body and nature lead the way rather than necessarily having all the answers ourselves.
Right, right. Because my understanding, which I'd love for you to share your expertise on, is that obviously probiotics is a relatively new category, but I think it's the most popular category of health supplements, or it definitely was at one point. And I think, yeah, 25 years ago, nobody nobody talked about probiotics, nobody knew what they were. And now a lot of people are taking probiotics. But my understanding is the gut biome is so complex and so sensitive, and that there can be a damage to just taking like one kind of probiotics. And actually, what's better is to encourage the gut to create its own healthy biome by having lots of fermented foods and drinks. Is that more along the lines of how Microbz is working?
Definitely. So It's so interesting you point that out, and I think we always try to orientate this in the kind of miraculous world of microbes, in the sense that we've always evolved with these microbial organisms. And if we think about how the Earth was formed, if it was formed in 24 hours, microbes come at like 4 a.m. and humans come at like 2 minutes before midnight. So
Mm,
they've been on this planet for billions of years before
mm,
us. And if we weren't here, they'd be fine. Whereas we need microorganisms
mm,
to kind of do most functions within our bodies. So we really rely on this invisible life. And the same with nature. I've come to understand from using microbes on our farm for decades that the biodiversity you see with your eyes is underpinned by this invisible microbial world. So I
mm,
would love to help people open their minds to this incredible diversity and life that's happening within us and all around us. So that's one thing, and it is very complex. It's not something that you can easily slice and dice, and therefore there's a lot left to learn. And also the way that people interact with microbes is different. So if you took lactobacillus, it might do something different in you than it would in
mm,
me. So that's why it's very hard to make any claims in the probiotic world, because they interact differently in different people.
mm,
And there is a lot more to understand. It's really exploded in terms of how microbes impact dementia and
mm,
all aspects of health,
mm,
your immunity, your inflammation, all of these things can be impacted by microbes. And I think we've scratched the surface, really. There's still so much more to learn about what they do for us. And in terms of the way that we look at it and not about individual strains that you harvest in a lab, but as a kind of returning to nature process, in the fact that we know that people who live in ecosystems that are very diverse have very diverse microorganisms in their
mm,
digestive tract and are healthy. And somehow in our modern life, we've divorced ourselves from the natural world and our microbiome suffers. And
mm,
rather than I would love that people ask the question, not kind of, oh, do I need this supplement or that supplement, but how can I reconnect myself with a natural system
mm,
and have that natural diversity? I mean, we know that gardeners, for example, have way less depression because they have their hands in the soil every
mm,
day. We know so much about how nature restores us, and
mm.
I would say that a lot of that is microbial.
Amazing. So you started off just making the products in your domestic kitchen, and now you have a factory. Talk us through what happens in the factory. How do you even start to make microbes?
So we start with a forest. So we have some land in Wiltshire, and we go down to the edge of the forest and we dig a hole, quite a deep hole, and we put in there a starch material, and we leave that under the moon for about
Wow.
10-15 days.
Wow.
So the microbes come to that starch material. They are attracted as a food source. And then we pull that up and we ferment it 4 times with sea minerals and organic blackstrap molasses and spirulina. And we take very good care of our environments. We think very much about the environment in which they're in, so they're cared for, and that's very important to us, kind of energetically, I guess. And yeah, we ferment that 4 times. So the first 3 fermentation processes happen on the farm, and then the fourth fermentation process happens in the factory, and that's when the scales kind of get bigger, and we add in traditional herbs and minerals. So for our human health range, we've worked with a medical herbalist to choose different herbs for different things, and
Mm,
they're very, very small micro doses. So it's about nudging the body. It's not about very intense herbs, but we find that combination of the herbs and the microbes really seems to work, because the microbes make the herbs bioavailable. You can absorb
yeah.
them quickly through a healthy gut lining. So um, yeah, it's the same base culture across. It's from nature, from soil,
Mm,
and then the herbs kind of add the different flavors if you want.
amazing. Amazing. So we've started with 3 products, Women's, Sustain, and Revive. Do you want to talk us through those?
Sure. So Revive is kind of our first step probiotic. It has the 15 different microbial strains taken from soil, and then it's fermented with things like slippery elm and L-glutamine, which is an amino acid which is naturally made in the body, but most people are deficient in it. And the job of these herbs and the microbes is to really look after the gut lining. So your gut lining is single cell thick, it's very thin. And if it gets too permeable, things can pass through it that
Mm,
cause inflammation. And inflammation is kind of the bedrock of most disease in the body. So keeping that gut lining really healthy is really important. And through that process of the gut lining, that's where you kind of extract nutrients from your food. So a healthy gut lining does a really good job of extracting nutrients, making it into short-chain fatty acids and other peptides and stuff to build a body.
mm,
And what you really don't want is a gut lining that is too permeable.
mm,
So that's the Revive job. And the feedback is that works really well.
mm,
And then Sustain, my dad invented this as kind of a multivitamin and a probiotic. So it's got 50
mm,
different herbs, minerals, and juices. And the idea there is that you give the microbes and give the body as many different little bits of goodness as possible and let the body and the microbes decide where it's needed. So it's supposed to be like an all-round health support. And then the women's has 18 different herbs for female health. So these are all things that have got quite robust studies around them in terms of
mm,
menopause symptoms and hormone stuff. So um, Dong Quai, fennel, Siberian ginseng, lady's mantle, things that really support the hormone
mm,
system. And we know that is also a gut system. The gut hormone relationship is quite strong. So the feedback we get from that is that it really supports perimenopause and menopause as well as very heavy periods. And, it's not a cure for things like endometriosis or things like that, but the feedback we get is that it can support the symptoms.
mm,
Mm.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I'm curious about you have a range of products for animals. Tell us about those.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize it makes sense in theory that if we're suffering from this kind of lack of connection to nature and soil microbes, that animals are also doing the same.
Mm,
And I'm blown away by our horse product is actually our third bestseller. And horses have a lot of illnesses and apparently dogs too, a lot of different kinds of, skin issues and gut issues. And so we provide an animal probiotic, and that's just a little bit given to animals in food. And the feedback we get is just mind-blowing in terms of, again, the support for digestion, but following on from that, skin and many different things. And the biggest one that I find incredible is the temperament. The amount of feedback we get from people saying,
oh,
my horse is just so much calmer,
oh,
my dog is just so much happier, more settled. And that's the bit that really excites me because it just takes away that kind of
mm,
pain or stress or whatever it is that isn't quite working between the gut and the
mm.
brain.
I'm wondering how you give it to animals, but I'm realizing I didn't ask you how humans take it as well. And is it something that you take every day? Is it something that you recommend if people feel that they want to, that they can take it every day, like ongoing?
Definitely. So you take it in the morning. So we have shot glasses, or you can also have it just on a tablespoon. So it's 15 milliliters in the morning, before breakfast, ideally. It's a very natural probiotic though, so you can't really overdose. So for some people who've got really serious symptoms, we say 15 ml in the morning and 15 ml in the afternoon or
Mm,
evening. Um, and I think the common wisdom now is at least 3 months you want to be taking a probiotic if you've got some kind of ongoing digestive issue or health issue. But actually, beyond that, up to 2 years, Dad's always said, because we have so much pollution in our environment, so many
mm,
chemicals, so many things that attack the body on a
mm,
day-to-day basis, including the kind of toxic load, that taking a probiotic can really support your whole body. We've actually just had Sustain tested as an antioxidant, and it's come back as 98% effective as an
wow.
antioxidant. And when we think about oxidization, that's really kind of PFAS, and chemicals and all those things that come into
Mm,
your body and attack your cells in terms of oxidation. So I like to think about the probiotic as really supporting the gut, but also cells in general from this kind
Mm,
of pollution. So yes, I'd say 3 years up, 3 months up to 2 years.
mm.
And then on and off as and when I take immunity when I'm feeling like I'm getting a cold or yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And how about animals? How would you give it to animals? Do they enjoy it?
So dogs and cats on their food and horses too, all
So
in
you
their
can
food.
just add it to food.
Add it to food, yeah. So it's a liquid, it's very easy to add to
Mm,
food. And
mm.
actually we're just working more and more with cows, so calf rearers who
Mm.
are seeing quite a lot
Wow.
of difference there. So yes, all animals just a little bit in their food, and it's that regularity that really seems to help kind of
Wow.
every
Do you
day.
have a specific product for cows as well?
We have an agricultural
Amazing.
website. So
Amazing.
we're really starting to delve into this idea that um our human bodies are so linked to the health of our soils, and
Yeah.
maybe we can't regain our human health without also regaining our ecological health, and that
Yeah.
comes down to food and farming. So we've got quite a lot of trials going on at the moment in both arable farming and also animal livestock farming, and what we're seeing is that it's making a difference, which we're encouraged with.
I was researching recently the different like traditions of how they view health, their different approaches to health.
Mm.
And I think it was the Maori culture and the Aboriginal culture that they didn't see health as separate from the land. Your health was part of your relationship to the land, which is just completely foreign to our Western concept of health.
It is, but I'm bristling with goose pimples because I really
Mm,
think it's the way to go forward. And now science is just showing us more and more that we are connected. I mean, the apples that we eat have less, loads of less polyphenols and stuff
mm,
because of the way the
mm.
soil is, and that
Yeah.
impacts our human health. So, I love that in ancient traditions it was just a belief,
Y-
and now we can support it with science and hopefully
Yeah.
rebuild that connection because we are connected to the land that we grow our food on physically.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And I'm curious about that household care products. Tell us about those.
So microbes are incredible. The more that we've worked with them, the more that we've used them, the more fascinated I am by how they work. So they seem to do two things really well. Number one is they break down life really well. So any kind of situation, your food waste bin, your whatever it is where you need to kind of break down
Mm,
things, and you don't want it to smell or anything like that, microbes are really helpful. So we have a range of cleaning products, and they're surface cleaners, and also kind of drain cleaners and other things like that. And what I notice is you have to leave them for a bit longer because they are alive and they need a bit of
mm,
time to break down grease and mold. But they work really well, especially on kind of barbecues or on, roast dinner tins, stuff like that, that really hold stuff. If you just put some microbes in and leave it for a while with some water, then it breaks down really easily. And also on your surfaces, you spray your surface. If you spray your surface with a bacterial antibacterial product, what it does is it kills 99.9% of germs.
mm,
And what comes back is your 0.1% of really badass germs, the ones that can
mm.
mutate and actually they recolonize really quickly. So it comes back to the beginning idea of microbial balancing technology. You're adding in lots more beneficial microbes. And
Mm.
what they do is they naturally outcompete the pathogens. So they kind of live in the crevices of your countertops and they colonize that area and they outcompete pathogens.
Wow.
Yeah, I love it.
Amazing, amazing. I'm so curious to try them. I'm really excited to yeah, get to know the products better. And thank you so much for your time today, Katie. Yeah, I hope we get to connect again soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening. You can check out the products we've been talking about by visiting Raw Living, rawliving.co.uk. And if you haven't got an account already, then do sign up. You get £5 off your first order. And also, please do like, subscribe, and share this podcast. It really does help.